Chapter 1: The Haunting Begins. On a dark, stormy night in a quiet Asian village, the air was charged with an eerie energy that sent shivers down the spines of its residents. Legends whispered of an ancient curse that plagued the village, and the locals lived in fear of the vengeful spirit known as the Wailing Woman. Deep within the heart of the village stood a desolate, dilapidated Japanese pagoda. With its crumbling walls and overgrown weeds, it was the epitome of terror. Its once vibrant red paint had faded, and the haunting wind whistled through the gaps in the decaying wood. Within the pagoda, a young man named Hiroshi, with his jet-black hair and almond-shaped eyes, had recently moved to the village to escape the bustling city life. Ignoring the warnings of the superstitious villagers, Hiroshi saw potential in the abandoned pagoda and decided to make it his humble abode. As the clock struck midnight, Hiroshi began to unpack his meager belongings. Suddenly, a chilling gust of wind howled through the pagoda, extinguishing the fragile candle flickering on a table. Fear began to creep into Hiroshi's heart. Whispers of rustling silk filled the air, and Hiroshi felt the temperature drop dramatically. His heart raced as he recognized the unmistakable signs of the presence of the Wailing Woman. With trembling hands, he reluctantly approached the Ouija board he had discovered in the attic earlier that day. Recklessly, Hiroshi placed his fingers on the planchette and asked the spirit a question he already knew the answer to: "Are you the Wailing Woman?" In a sudden surge of supernatural force, the planchette began to move frantically across the board, spelling out a single word: yes. Hiroshi's blood ran cold as the spirit's presence intensified. He watched in horror as the candle flame reignited, illuminating the room in an otherworldly glow. Shadows danced on the walls, casting eerie silhouettes of the ancient pagoda. The room shook violently, causing Hiroshi to lose his footing and stumble backward. A blood-curdling wail echoed through the pagoda, resonating deep within his soul. Suddenly, a translucent figure materialized before him, the Wailing Woman herself. Her flowing white kimono, stained with the marks of her tragic demise, billowed around her ethereal form. Her jet-black hair cascaded down her shoulders, framing her gaunt face contorted in anguish. Faint whispers of sorrow could be heard emanating from her ghostly figure. Paralyzed with fear, Hiroshi could only watch as the Wailing Woman floated toward him. Her icy touch sent a wave of terror through his body, as if death itself had caressed his skin. She opened her mouth, but instead of a mournful wail, only silence filled the room. Suddenly, Hiroshi's fear transformed into a fierce determination. He had moved to the village to escape the mundanity of his life. He refused to let a vengeful spirit dictate his destiny. With a newfound resolve, he boldly confronted the Wailing Woman. "Enough!" Hiroshi shouted, his voice echoing through the pagoda. "I have no quarrel with you. Settle your grievances in peace, and let us both find solace." To Hiroshi's surprise, the Wailing Woman's expression shifted from torment to contemplation. Slowly, her figure faded into the darkness, leaving behind an uneasy silence. Hiroshi had managed to quell the rage of the Wailing Woman, but he knew the village still lived in fear. With a renewed purpose, he set out to uncover the truth behind her tragic fate and free the village from the grip of the ancient curse. Little did Hiroshi know that his quest would take him down a treacherous path, filled with dark secrets, twisted legends, and encounters with the supernatural. But armed with his unwavering resolve, he was determined to bring peace to the Wailing Woman's restless spirit and restore tranquility to the village once and for all. Chapter 2: The Forbidden Diary. Determined to unravel the mystery of the Wailing Woman's curse, Hiroshi delved into the secrets of the village's haunted past. He searched high and low for any shred of information that could potentially free the village from its torment. His first stop was the local temple, where ancient scrolls and forgotten tomes concealed the village's darkest secrets. Upon entering the temple, Hiroshi was greeted by a gust of incense-filled air, thick with the weight of centuries. In a dimly lit corner of the temple, he discovered a forgotten bookshelf covered in a thick layer of dust. With careful hands, Hiroshi gently wiped away the debris, revealing a forgotten diary. Its leather cover was weathered and cracked, suggestive of the many years it had spent hidden away. Hiroshi's heart quickened with excitement as he opened the diary's fragile pages. The ink had faded, but Hiroshi could make out fragments of text. The journal belonged to a young woman named Akiko, who had lived during the time of the Wailing Woman's reign of terror. Akiko's writing chronicled her experiences as the village fell deeper into darkness. She wrote of unexplained deaths, eerie happenings, and the haunting wails that kept her awake at night. It seemed that Akiko had been one of the few who had glimpsed the face of the Wailing Woman and survived to tell the tale. In the diary, Akiko recounted her encounter with a mysterious old man who claimed to have knowledge of the Wailing Woman's origins. The old man, known as Ruji, resided in a remote shack on the outskirts of the village. Eager to uncover more, Hiroshi journeyed to Ruji's shack. The path was treacherous, winding through dense forests and ancient burial grounds. The air grew damp and the sky darkened as if nature itself warned Hiroshi of the dangers that lay ahead. As Hiroshi approached the shack, an aura of mystique surrounded it. The structure was dilapidated, with wooden planks threatening to collapse at any moment. Cobwebs hung from every corner, creating ghastly tapestries that seemed to pulsate with unseen secrets. Entering the shack, Hiroshi was greeted by the scent of decay and the haunting echo of the wind that slipped through the cracks. Dust swirled in the air, casting eerie shadows upon the unkempt furniture. Sifting through the worn-out shelves, Hiroshi discovered a tattered journal hidden beneath a stack of moth-eaten books. This journal belonged to Ruji, the old man who might hold the key to the Wailing Woman's tortured existence. As Hiroshi flipped through the pages, he found intricate drawings of ancient rituals and incantations, each carefully annotated. Ruji had dedicated his life to studying the curse, hoping to find a way to appease the vengeful spirit and bring peace to the village. One entry, in particular, caught Hiroshi's attention, a detailed account of a ritual that could potentially break the curse. It involved various ingredients, from rare herbs to an object intimately connected to the Wailing Woman's tragic past. Hiroshi's heart pounded as he realized the significance of what he had discovered. Armed with the knowledge from Akiko's diary and Ruji's journal, Hiroshi now had a plan to confront the Wailing Woman. A flicker of hope ignited within him, pushing aside the fear that had plagued him before. With newfound determination, he would gather the necessary items for the ritual, facing the terrifying unknown that awaited him in the final chapter of this cursed tale. Chapter 3: The Final Showdown. With the ancient rituals deciphered from Ruji's journal, Hiroshi embarked on a perilous quest to gather the necessary ingredients to break the curse and set the village free from the wrath of the Wailing Woman. His first stop was the dense forest on the outskirts of the village, where rare herbs rumored to possess mystical properties grew. Armed with a satchel, Hiroshi navigated through the labyrinthine foliage, careful not to disturb the delicate balance between the mortal world and the supernatural realm. With careful precision, Hiroshi plucked the herbs, their fragrant aroma permeating the air. Every step he took felt measured, as if the spirits of the forest were watching his every move, weighing his intentions. Next on the list of ingredients was an object intimately connected to the Wailing Woman's tragic past. Hiroshi retraced the steps of the cursed spirit, visiting the abandoned pagoda where they had first crossed paths amongst the overgrown weeds. Hiroshi found a hidden compartment in the floor, concealing a dusty, forgotten box. As he opened the box, a golden hairpin, once belonging to the Wailing Woman, gleamed in the dim light. Its intricate design hinted at a life long gone, and Hiroshi felt a pang of sorrow for the spirit that had been bound to such a tragic fate. Finally, Hiroshi ventured to the heart of the village, a desolate graveyard whispered to be the resting place of those lost to the curse. Armed with a sacred talisman, he entered the graveyard, his heart heavy with anticipation. Rows upon rows of withered tombstones lined the graveyard, some cracked and worn beyond recognition. The wind whispered their tales of sorrow and longing as Hiroshi placed the talisman on the grave of the original victim of the Wailing Woman's curse. With all the necessary ingredients gathered, Hiroshi returned to the dilapidated pagoda, where his fate intertwined with that of the vengeful spirit. The wind howled, carrying the echoes of the Wailing Woman's cries, as he prepared to break the curse that had plagued the village. With trembling hands, Hiroshi arranged the herbs, lit ceremonial incense, and placed the hairpin at the center of a sacred circle. A hush fell over the empty pagoda as he began to recite the incantation passed down through generations. As the words left his lips, the air crackled with an otherworldly energy. The flames danced with renewed vigor, casting a warm glow that pulsed in harmony with Hiroshi's beating heart. Suddenly, a melodic wail filled the pagoda, growing in intensity with each passing moment. The spirit of the Wailing Woman materialized before Hiroshi, her face a mask of anguish and longing. Yet, this time, there was a glimmer of recognition in her ethereal eyes. The incantation reached its climax, and Hiroshi held his breath, seeking solace in the hope that the curse would finally be broken. Slowly, the wail subsided, replaced by a serene silence that settled over the pagoda like a comforting embrace. The Wailing Woman's form began to fade, her anguish dissipating into the ether. She extended a pale, translucent hand towards Hiroshi, her expression one of gratitude before she vanished, leaving behind only the gentle rustle of the wind through the pagoda's tattered walls. With the curse broken, the village awoke from its long slumber, freed from the haunting presence that had tormented them for generations. The air was filled with a newfound calm, as the villagers began to rebuild their lives in peace and tranquility. As for Hiroshi, he had played a pivotal role in ending the Wailing Woman's reign of terror. With a sense of fulfillment in his heart, he bid farewell to the village that had become his home and embarked on a new journey, forever changed by the supernatural adventure he had faced. And so, the legend of the Wailing Woman became a distant memory, whispered only in the darkest corners of the village, a reminder of the power of determination, compassion, and the resilience of the human spirit to overcome even the most haunting of nightmares. Remember to subscribe and check out the links in the description box below.